Hey everyone, and welcome back to Centerlink Alert, your trusted source for the latest updates on Australian social welfare payments. If you're watching this video, chances are you or someone you care about relies on either the disability support pension or the age pension, and you want to know exactly what's changing this November. Well, you're in the right place, because today we're breaking down everything you need to know about the massive updates that just came into effect on November 20th, 2025. Let's start with the big picture here. Australia's social welfare system is going through some really significant changes right now, and honestly, these are some of the most important updates we've seen in years. We're talking about adjustments that affect millions of Australians, real people with real lives who depend on these payments to make ends meet. The government has responded to the rising cost of living, inflation, and skyrocketing rent prices by indexing both the disability support pension and the age pension to make sure your purchasing power doesn't disappear. Now, before we dive into the specifics of what changed this November, let me just say this. These two pensions might seem similar on the surface, but they're actually designed for completely different groups of people with different needs. Understanding the difference is crucial, especially if you're approaching that transition age, or if you're supporting someone who might qualify for one of these payments. So let's talk about what these pensions actually are. The Disability Support Pension, which most people call the DSP, is designed for Australians who are at least 16 years old but haven't reached the age pension qualifying age yet. This payment is specifically for people who have a permanent physical, intellectual, or psychiatric condition that prevents them from working regular hours. We're talking about individuals who face genuine barriers to employment through no fault of their own. On the other hand, the age pension is for Australians who've reached the qualifying age, which right now in 2025 stands at 67 years old. This is for people who've worked their whole lives, contributed to society, and have now reached retirement age. They need to meet certain residency requirements and pass income and asset tests, but there's no requirement to prove that they can't work. It's simply a recognition that they've earned the right to retire with dignity. Both of these payments are administered by Services Australia under the Social Security Act from 1991, and they're both designed with the same core goal: preventing poverty among vulnerable Australians. But the way they work, the conditions attached to them, and how they encourage participation in either the workforce or the community, these things are quite different. Now let's get into the really important stuff, the November 2025 updates. These changes arrived at what I'd call a critical moment. Over the past year, we've all felt the pinch of rising costs. Rent has gone through the roof in cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth. Grocery bills keep climbing. Energy costs are astronomical. Low-income Australians have been hit particularly hard, and the government knew they had to do something. Starting from November 20th, new payment rates came into effect following what's called the September indexation cycle. This doesn't just affect your base pension rate. We're also talking about supplement amounts, like the pension supplement and energy supplement getting adjusted too. For those on the disability support pension, there have also been some really positive changes to assessment processes and participation rules that should make access simpler and fairer, especially for people dealing with complex disabilities. Let me break down the actual numbers for you, because this is what really matters to your weekly budget. For the age pension, the base rate for a single person is now approximately $1,116.30 per fortnight. If you're part of a couple, you're looking at around $1,682.80 combined. These rates reflect increases driven by the Consumer Price Index and something called Male Total Average Weekly Earnings, which basically ensures that your pension income keeps up with how wages are growing across the country. Here's something really important. The disability support pension has been lifted to roughly the same base rate. This means both DSP and age pension recipients now receive equivalent financial recognition of their needs. However, DSP recipients might also qualify for additional mobility or impairment-related supplements depending on their specific circumstances, which can make a real difference. Now, one of the biggest differences between these two pensions comes down to eligibility, and this is where things get quite distinct. To qualify for the disability support pension in 2025, you need to demonstrate that your impairment prevents you from working more than 15 hours per week within the next 2 years. Your condition also needs to be fully diagnosed, treated, and stabilized. The government uses something called impairment tables, which were last updated in 2023, and these tables assign point values to various functional limitations you might have. Generally, you need to reach a minimum of 20 points across one or more tables, though the exact requirements depend on how your condition impacts your life. You might be required to attend job capacity assessments and provide medical evidence from your treating doctors and specialists. The age pension eligibility, by comparison, is much more straightforward. If you're an Australian resident who's lived in the country for at least 10 years, with some exceptions for refugees and citizens of countries that have social security agreements with Australia, and you've reached that qualifying age of 67, then you're eligible subject to income and asset tests. There's no requirement whatsoever to demonstrate that you can't work. For many older Australians who previously received the disability support pension, turning 67 automatically transitions them to the age pension, which is generally easier to manage from an administrative standpoint and has fewer ongoing medical review requirements. One of the most exciting parts of this November 2025 update is the government's commitment to improving alignment between these two systems. In the past, some recipients moving from DSP to age pension actually experienced reductions in their total payments because of differences in how supplements were calculated or rent assistance was provided. The 2025 update aims to eliminate that gap completely. The pension supplement, which includes things like utilities and telephone allowances, is now standardized so that both DSP and age pension recipients receive identical support regardless of which route they took into the pension system. Let's talk about indexation, because this is really important for understanding how your payments will change over time. Starting in 2025, both pensions are now indexed twice per year in March and September, using whichever measure gives you the higher outcome between the Consumer Price Index and wage growth. This is huge because it ensures your pension grows either in line with living costs or with wages, whichever increases faster. Researchers at the Australian National University have pointed out that this approach protects pensioners much better than using CPI alone, particularly during periods when wages are rising faster than prices. The November 2025 increase reflects the September indexation cycle that responded to a 4.1% CPI growth over the preceding 12 months. Housing support remains absolutely critical, and rent assistance has been increased again in 2025 by 15% following advocacy from welfare groups. With rental markets reaching historic highs, this increase is genuinely significant. A single pensioner renting privately can now receive up to $188.20 per fortnight in rent assistance, while couples can receive $177.20 combined. The government has emphasized that this change particularly benefits DSP recipients under 35, many of whom live independently or in shared accommodation without family support. The rules around workforce participation also differ between these two pensions in really interesting ways. DSP recipients face limits on work hours, but reforms introduced just this past July now allow recipients to engage in part-time employment up to 18 hours per week without losing eligibility, provided their medical capacity supports it. This change recognizes something really important. Many people with disabilities want to work and contribute, but they need flexible arrangements that accommodate their conditions. Age pension recipients benefit from something called the Work Bonus Scheme, which lets older Australians earn up to $11,800 per year from employment without affecting their pension rate. The government confirmed in the November update that the higher work bonus threshold introduced in 2023 will be made permanent, acknowledging that older Australians play a vital role in the workforce during labor shortages. When it comes to taxation, both the disability support pension and age pension are technically taxable income. But here's the good news. Most pensioners pay little or no tax because of the seniors and pensioners tax offset and low-income thresholds. The budget confirmed that these thresholds would rise slightly in line with inflation, meaning single pensioners can earn up to $34,300 before paying any income tax, while couples can earn $37,000 each. This adjustment complements the November indexation changes perfectly, ensuring you keep more of your income in real terms. Services Australia has also promised to reduce waiting times for DSP applications, which can currently take up to 6 months. And that's way too long when people are struggling. Under a new initiative starting in December 2025, applicants with clear and permanent medical evidence from approved specialists will bypass secondary assessments. Meanwhile, age pension applications will benefit from expanded online verification tools, allowing retirees to upload documents and track claims through the MyGov portal. The financial impact of these programs on the national budget is substantial, but it's money well spent. Age pension expenditures for this financial year are projected at $58.7 billion, supporting more than 2.6 million Australians. The disability support pension accounts for around $18.5 billion, with 770,000 recipients. Though costly, these pensions deliver essential social stability, reduce poverty rates among vulnerable groups, and contribute significantly to regional economies. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize that these November 2025 changes represent a real step forward in fairness and dignity for both disability support pension and age pension recipients. Your payments are going up, the system is becoming more aligned and equitable, and there are new supports and flexibilities being introduced that recognize the real challenges you face. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to Centerlink Alert so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below if you have questions about your specific situation, and I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. Remember, these payments aren't charity, they're your right as Australians. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.